with the formal part of the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Champions and Innovators webinar for today. It's time to get on with our show, and our first special guest for today is Simon Liss, and Simon is Head of Connected Device Innovation and Integration at 2020. So, first of all, Simon, welcome, and I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
I can, John, yes. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Well, just before we go, ladies and gentlemen, you can see on the screen, you can see a small biography of Simon. You can obviously see a great biography if you search for him on LinkedIn, where he's got his LinkedIn profile. But Simon, if you could just start just by giving just a couple of quick sentences about yourself and sort of what brings you to the subject of Omni-channel.
Okay, John. Well, I guess I've been working in communications, you might call it, for the past 20 years. Firstly in PR, then into marketing, and I've spent the past 5 years working mostly in mobile. I started a mobile agency and found myself increasingly looking at mobile not just as a single channel, but a glue that holds other channels together. From the start of this year, I started a job at 2020. They're a strategic design consultancy working with retail and leisure clients. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking mobile one step further, and I'm actually looking at connected devices and how they fit within store environments, and how mobile and the internet flows from, if you like, online into offline and then back again. All these kind of customer journeys, all these experiences are getting very confused, if you like, but there's a thread that holds them together, and I believe that thread is the internet and is mobile devices. So I view total customer experience, if you like, through the prism of retail and leisure right now, and I use mobile and other connected devices as my toolkit.
Okay, excellent, good stuff. Well, in terms of the omni-channel subject area, probably for those in the audience who are, let's say, not practitioners in the subject on a full-time basis, let's just set the scene by giving some definition of what omni-channel is, how it differs from multi-channel, which probably the audience will be much more familiar with. So if you could just start off by sort of placing the subject in context.
Yes.
In terms of that definition, that would be great.
Okay, John. Well, I'll do my best, and this is one flavour of the definition, so I'm sure we'll hear some others over the course of today. So, to me, multi-channel versus omni-channel, it's not about more channels or different channels. It's about how you approach these channels. So the difference, if you like, is essentially attitudinal. If you take a multi-channel mindset, and I'll deal with the extremes, if you like, of this. I'm sure there's many businesses who take a bit of both. But if you take a multi-channel mindset, you tend to see your business as a series of separate vertical channels, and you organize them as different business units. And so, for instance, your web channel might have its own P&L and operating model, and it might be completely different or very different to your bricks and mortar retail model. And companies that treat that are multi-channel and treat their channels as separate verticals tend to present these as separate verticals to customers as well. So not only are they kind of operationally in silos, but they tend to present in silos. They can't help themselves. So if you take multi-channel as a kind of given, and lots of businesses operate in multi-channels, omni-channel is a way of progressing multi-channel. And omni-channel for me is an approach, and it's about presenting one brand and one experience to the customer, and thereby treating each channel as part of a whole.
So therefore, is it about getting out of silos and into a sort of a consistent, as you said, seamless experience across all of those sort of interaction points?
It is, and the way I like to describe it is that I think lots of businesses tend to think about experience from the inside out. They're quite self-referential. They consider what they need to do to get the job done, and they think about their current operational models. Omni-channel thinking and an omni-channel approach to experience needs what we call in the kind of design world an outside-in approach to experience. So you think about the customer first and think about what they want from your business rather than thinking from the inside out.
Okay, and how does that therefore affect organizational structure and sort of accountability for particular parts of the customer journey? Is it getting rid of the approach, the sort of the sales experience sits with the sales director and the service experience sits with the service director? How do you get that joined up thinking from an organizational perspective?
Well, John, you're hitting on one of, if you like, the key challenges with moving from multi-channel to omni-channel. And it's very easy for me to sit here. I'm a strategist. I work for a design agency. You know, we can come up with all sorts of PowerPoint decks that talk about how business should be changing. I mean, the reality is that businesses have historically organized themselves in silos, and it's a very difficult thing to move out of those. I'll give you an example. We are putting in interactive screens into retail spaces for clients, and the stakeholders for those screens are quite wide. So, for instance, the head of retail marketing wants to be involved because those screens are part of the experience and part of the point of sale communication. The web team wants to be involved because anything that connects to the internet they believe is their domain, and even though these screens aren't a replication of the website, they want to be involved with it. And I think even if you have a business that wants to go omni-channel, it really is a question of actually thinking about breaking down those silos and reorganizing your business around customer experience. And it's a huge ask. And I think that, you know, this is about progressive movement towards that. We don't go into businesses and say, hey, you know what, guys, you need to tear down 100 years worth of kind of operational structure and the way you do things. But as I say, it does, moving from multi-channel to omni-channel requires a new mindset, and it does require, I think, necessitate an element of business change.
And I'm assuming then it has to be a form of transformation or change which comes right from the top of the company. It's not something that can be sort of started off in one of the functional silos and then move across. It has to be a sort of an all-enveloping strategy that comes from the top.
Yes, I mean, I've seen it happen in a couple of ways. One of our kind of more progressive clients have combined their offline and their web teams. They've said, right, we're not going to have two separate entities, we're going to combine you guys. And they've gone through that huge amount of pain to basically create an organization that's fit for the current environment. You know, that's a huge amount of business transformation to, you know, in response to a multi-channel world and in view of their omni-channel objective.
So what from a business perspective? Okay, let's take it right to the nth degree. How is omnichannel or the threat posed by not doing omnichannel? How does that feed through to the bottom line? So where does omnichannel sit in the competitive environment? Is it, if you don't do it, it's you know, sort of a burning ship, but if you do it, you can be top of the tree. Sort of, how does it sit in the, you know, in the competitive world?
I would put it this way. I think a business can ignore omnichannel customer experience if they want to. They'll still get customers, they'll still operate in the same way, but they will suffer from competition from entities that see the value. And really, this is about meeting customer expectations. Customers now expect to encounter one brand and one experience. So whether they engage with you via the website, via their mobile, via phone, via TV, they expect consistency. So if you don't deliver that consistency, you let them down, and the competition can leap in there. You know, a seamless transition across channels means easier transactions. If I can be recognized in different channels, if my details are already there, if I can one click and pay across many different screens, it makes things easier, and that leads to customer satisfaction, leads to increased loyalty, leads to better word of mouth. I mean, to me, everything can be improved by looking at your customer experience from an omni-channel point of view.
Simon, we're going to leave it there for the moment, but stay with us for the Q&A at the end. I've got loads more questions to ask you, but you've given a fantastic insight into the subject of omnichannel and to some of those key definitions, and that certainly sets us up well for the rest of the agenda today. So thank you, Simon, and we'll come back to you at the end of the program. Thanks very much.
Pleasure, John. Thank you.
That's great. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we hand over for the first of Brad Bennett's innovation bubbles. Brad is the innovation architect with Genesis, and I'm just going to change the slide decks. But first of all, let me say hello to you, Brad. Hope you're well and that you can hear me okay.
Very well, thank you, John.
That's fantastic. Well, I've just changed over your slide decks now, so I'm going to give you control of WebEx and make you the presenter. So if you just click once on the screen with your mouse pointer, then you should be away. And I hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent. So welcome, everybody. So I work for Genesis, and we're a technology provider that enables Omni-channel. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is social engagement in an Omni-channel world. And the first part of my presentation is neatly aligned with Simon's comments, even though we didn't cross notes before, so that's very good. So what I've been talking about probably for the last couple of years, although heating up probably in the last year and a half, is about this perfect storm. And really now it's something that isn't something on the horizon, but it's something that we need to think about right now. And it's been driven by two things in my mind. It's been driven by mobile and the explosion of what I call mobile computing. So pretty much everyone that's on the webinar today, if you feel in your pocket, you've probably got a smartphone sitting there. And the rise of that mobile computing has just been astronomical. And that means that, for example, mobile internet usage has now surpassed fixed line internet usage. We have, mobile handsets are now outnumbering the number of people in the world, and so on and so on. And this is neatly linked to the social media, because everyone that's mobile is pretty much social. And you find such things as 90% of Facebook posts come from a mobile device. And social media is a growing channel for us in the customer experience space. So for me, this is a perfect storm that if you haven't thought about it before, you need to think about it right at the end of this webinar and try and start thinking about what strategies you're going to put around this space. The next couple of slides are really showing the really showing the impact of the change in this mobile computing. And this is the first slide is the changing of the Pope in 2005. If you notice in the bottom right-hand side of the slide, there's one lone figure with a, I think it's an old StarTAC clam telephone, maybe taking a photo or something like that. And the very next photo is the changing of the Pope this year. So if I'll just flick back again to the first slide, this is the changing of the Pope in 2005, and this is the changing of the Pope in this year. And for me, that really explains the explosion of mobile computing and mobile customer experience, and linked to that social customer experience as well. So us as businesses, we need to be ready for this explosion. If we haven't already thought about it now, we need to think about it as soon as the webinar finishes. If you have a look at the smartphone that you have in your pocket, it really is an omni-channel device. So if you're thinking as a consumer to contact, say, your bank or your insurance company or an airline or something like that, you have a multitude of different ways to contact that organization through this type of device. So you could send them an SMS, you could send an email, you might contact them on a social channel, you might even do a thing called telephone, because these mobile devices just happen to have an application that does telephone calls. And that's from the consumer side. So what we see is this device, we see it as, I want to choose the most appropriate channel to me and my state at the moment to contact this organization. Yet on the flip side of that, internally to our companies, we see each individual icon on the phone almost as like a silo. So we might have an inbound call center, we might have a social media team sitting, maybe in marketing. You might have, for example, your email handling outsourced to a third party that might even be in a totally different country. And that's really where that sort of disconnect comes between what our users are really wanting to have and what we are using internally. And it's just going to get even worse. So there's more and more disruption coming in the market. Obviously, here's a picture of Google Glass, but there's more and more things coming in the market that are going to make it even easier for our consumers to contact us using any channel they want at any time. And we need to be ready for this internally. So channels are multiplying. Even in the social media space, there seems to be a new social media network pop up every couple of days. But these channels are multiplying, and we're struggling to deal with this expectation in terms of, well, I want to have an omni-channel experience across all my channels and get the same experience regardless of channel used by the customer. Another study by Ovum actually, it shows that 74% of customers use at least 3 channels to connect to us. So by the time they've, for example, got to social media, they've already tried to call you, they've already tried to send an email, and they've come to social media. And even 22% of them, so that's almost a fifth of them, are trying 5 or more channels. So they're in that whole customer conversation. For example, they're ordering a new item from you, and they might first go to social media to find out, what's the best, best telephone on the market. Then they might go to your website, check out your prices, the type of deals you have. Then they might call you. Then they might go back to your website, etc. So they're going through all these different channels to you, and if you don't have a seamless way of dealing with that one customer conversation and keeping the context between channel to channel, then it builds up frustration, and the customer effort that they have to go through is too high. So from the customer's point of view, they see it as one conversation. Regardless of what icon or what app I'm pressing on my telephone, I see it as one conversation. And I want that service to be convenient. I want it to be context-based. I want you to know where I am in my conversation. And I want you to know who I am, and, for example, that I'm looking for a brand new phone and I've already called you and sent you an email. I want you to know that. And we need the processes and technology in place to be able to deal with that. Internally, we're still managing it as silos. And if it's too hard for a customer, I think as Simon was alluding to, if it's too hard for them to do business with you, then, and a competitor is giving this omni-channel experience, then they'll just leave. And internally, that means for us also is wasted agent cost, and also totally disconnected solutions and the costs that come with those. So here's a look at a typical type of conversation. And this could be, for example, a new purchase, or it could be maybe a claim, insurance claim, or something like that. So the customer is coming through this conversation, they're going through a series of your channels, and they see this as just one conversation with the organization. Yet internally, because we have siloed solutions and we can't keep the context from one channel to another, it typically looks something like this, right? So if they come through to your contact center, or you could even replace these red circles on your screen, you could replace them with social media. When they come through to your social media channel, if you have no idea of where they are in their conversation and no context in terms of why they're here, what other contexts that they've had with the organization during this conversation, then you're really driving blind, and you can't deliver this omni-channel experience. So just a little bite on social media and versus social media marketing. Most of the customers that I speak to in terms of social customer service, they first start in the marketing space. So they have a team in marketing that has said to themselves, or have been mandated to say, look, here's this brand new channel. It's a low-cost channel for us to get our message out. And they start using it as a marketing channel. And they typically have KPIs and measurements around that channel in terms of brand health, brand awareness, campaign reach, what they call customer engagement, but that's more like how many people have seen our campaign. And then something really strange happens. As soon as they are active in social media, the customers who are obviously, as you remember, are going through all these different channels as part of the conversation, jump on it and say, wow, this bank or this insurance company or this retail store is now active on social media. I can get service through this channel. And it's a channel that I have on mobile, on social. It's something I'm wanting. And so they jump on that and they start asking service questions or sales questions to that marketing team. And typically the customers that I talk to, they have this team within marketing that are doing the social media marketing. And then they build up a social media customer care team, which is totally siloed away from their traditional customer service team within their organization, and try and do a sort of customer service which is totally disjoint and definitely not omni-channel. So where we come in from a Genesis point of view is we can take those interactions out of the social channel and we can deliver it to the right resource within the organization to allow this sort of one-to-one business aspect. So we know, for example, this person have contacted us on social media. They're talking about the new phone they want to buy. We see also that they have called us, sent us an email. So we have this context across these channels, and we can deliver it to the right person in the organization. And all of that sits upon all the good stuff, what I call the good stuff in terms of all the reporting and analytics. So you can see, for example, how are my gold customers being treated across all channels in the omni-channel world, or how are all my sales interactions going across this one omni-channel. So that's really where the first bubble will sit. So from a social media point of view, as part of this omni-channel experience, if you're having this pain in terms of it sitting somewhere else in your organization, or even if you haven't even thought about social media engagement, you need to think about a couple of things. One, that perfect storm, so mobile, and it's driven by mobile and social. And the second thing is, how do I integrate this social media customer experience into my overall omni-channel strategy? And that, John, is over to you.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Brad. That's part one of a two-parter today. So we'll be rejoining Brad very shortly. But thank you very much for now, Brad. I've made lots of points there around taking context with the customer across their customer journey, and also what I've termed as the organization having a memory of all the interactions that an individual has had with the company. So we'll pick up those points later, Brad, in the Q&A. But for now, thank you very much. I'm going to retake control of WebEx, and I'll just pop back onto my slide deck. And we're going to move swiftly on to our second interview of the day. And for this, it gives me great pleasure to, let me just, first of all, unmute Geraint Evans, who is joining us. He's the Omni-channel Director at Steria. So first of all, welcome, Geraint, and I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
I certainly can. Thanks a lot for having me, and hello everybody out there in the world.
Excellent stuff, good stuff. Well, if we just start off, Geraint, by you just giving a little couple of sentences about yourself and your perspective on the subject of omnichannel.
Sure. I look after omnichannel as a practice area, as a transformational practice area within Steria. Steria, an IT service provider, a trusted sort of transformation partner for public and private sector. So my role cuts across all the different verticals, all the different areas of the market. And as my particular focus is omnichannel, it also covers all of the channels that we've already talked in detail on this call, mobile, social, online, but also the physical elements of the channel mix, your customer service elements that we've already discussed. So everything is in the box really, marked omni-channel, multi-channel, cross-channel, whatever it's called today.
well, let's kick off straight away with so a bit of a controversial question is do consumers really want, first of all of these channels, and do they want to be using them all the time, and do they have this expectation that you know, that the conversation that they started on web chat will be picked up by the email team when they then send an email, and also the voice team when they call the contact center. What's your view on the customer's sort of want and need with regard to omnichannel?
I think there's a subset of customers that are absolutely there right now and absolutely expect exactly what you just said and what Simon and Brad have just gone through. I think there's other customers that having not experienced it yet, with some companies that they deal with on a regular basis, they almost don't know what they haven't got or what they're missing. But certainly, as you've seen with the take-up of devices such as smartphones and tablets and the social channels that we just talked about, the exponential growth in these areas and the focus and the kind of the sort of customer imperatives it's creating, I think that you'll start to see customers rapidly expecting it across all the segments, all the age groups, all the buying types. So maybe not everybody quite yet, but I certainly think it'll become more and more important.
And is this transformation being, did it sort of get kick-started with the growth of online, and now it's been amplified and accelerated by the adoption of mobile devices? What's been the catalyst?
I think so. I think, as Simon said really earlier on, you know, it's having that mobile with you has certainly been a massive catalyst. You know, we're always connected now as consumers. You know, literally always connected. There are some absolutely fascinating surveys coming out around mobile and tablet usage at the moment that I think really do kind of say it all about the omni-channel journey, which is some surveys in the US around college students, for instance, I've read recently around what's the first thing they do in the morning. Literally the first thing they do, is it, you know, go to the bathroom, is it brush their teeth, is it have some porridge or whatever. It's not that, you know, it's picking up their mobile phone and checking through their social networks, checking through news, looking at their email. I'm sure it's not just, you know, college students in the US that are doing that. I'm sure we can all identify for that grab for the iPhone, the Android, or the BlackBerry or the Windows handset in the morning. So I think that's been a massive game changer in terms of the omni-channel journey that companies and consumers are on. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, you know, I remember in the early days of my career, you know, thinking about targeting consumers when they were in front of their PCs and you know, trying to get them in that window when they were at home or in the office with a communication. And, you know, that's still really relevant. You still need to think about timings around that kind of thing. But it's fascinating to think now that obviously we can try and communicate and talk to customers throughout the entire sort of cycle of the day, and that goes right through to evening and nighttime, where again, in terms of the latest kind of research, we're seeing a lot of evidence of tablets being particularly popular at night, very late at night in some cases, where consumers are sitting there in bed, you know, using their iPad or Android device or Playbook or whatever it is, and actually, you know, surfing the net, buying stuff, literally lying in bed at night. So I think to answer your question, these devices have been a massive game changer, but it's also shown that we are sort of constantly connected, and therefore that's a huge challenge and also a huge opportunity for companies to work with.
In terms of, you know, you work with clients in sort of implementing transformational projects, and you know, and your particular focus is on omnichannel. So, in terms of when companies are looking to sort of address omnichannel and make the necessary transformations internally to sort of make it happen, is there a starting point? Can you do this thing gradually, or do you have to have a big bang and say, right, you know, we need to change our culture, we need to change how we view the customer, and, you know, do we have to retrofit our organization from the customer's expectations backwards? How does it all start off within, you know, when you're instructed by a client?
Yeah, it's a really interesting challenge. I mean, I think every company is on this journey anyway, I think. And although, you know, omnichannel now is a term that's discussed a lot at the moment, you know, often seems kind of brand new or shocking, having massive implications for a company. I'd actually argue that there are a lot of familiar challenges around it. You know, the sort of central focus on customers. What does the customer want, and what should the customer's experience of your brand or your company or products be? How do you engender loyalty within that customer, and how do you make sure they keep coming back and you keep satisfying them? So I think, to answer your main point there, really, I think that it's about having a strategy that is top-down, is organizational, absolutely essential to achieving omni-channel as a kind of nirvana. But I think on a kind of what do you do first and what do we get involved with, and how do we make this happen kind of perspective, I think it's absolutely crucial that everybody is engaged from the start of the discussion. So if the objective is to achieve an omni-channel, a dream for your customers and for your company, then it can't just be driven by a department. You know, and Simon and Brad already touched on this. It can't just be from the digital team or the IT team driving it. It needs to absolutely sit across the organisation, and I really mean across the organisation. You know, that's HR, operations, you know, procurement. It's all the departments. I think everybody needs to be a stakeholder in the strategy, and that's where, you know, certainly we've seen the greatest success has been achieved.
Now, of course, you know, for many organisations, and it seems that Omni-channel has taken root in retail, and although from my perspective, it will affect all organisations in all business verticals eventually. Retail is particularly sensitive to it because it's it's going through this period of great change, influenced by both online and mobile, seemingly simultaneously. So it's, for them, it's like the perfect storm. Where does it leave the channel which often sort of doesn't get referred to in these sort of conversations, which is the traditional bricks and mortar store? Because at the end of the day, that was retail's number one channel to market, and number one channel for communicating with the customer and creating that experience. How does it sit in this sort of evolving mobile, online, omni-channel world?
I think it's still so absolutely crucial. You know, I think that a lot of the discussion that's developed around multi-channel, cross-channel, now omni-channel, you know, so much of that is it kind of almost a vacuum, a sort of tractor beam towards digital channels, you know, when we've talked about online, social, mobile. Obviously, they're fantastic enablers, and I'm not dismissing them in the slightest, but I think that what happens in that kind of vacuum situation is that people do tend to forget the stores themselves, and I think that stores need to change, they need to adapt, they need to become, you know, more of a kind of sort of a showroom and showing off your products and services in the way that you want customers to experience them now, I think. Perhaps not just on a transactional basis, go in, buy something, walk out. I think there's obviously an increasing movement towards the experience that the customer is given when moving into that store. And you know, you only have to go to something like an Apple store, you know, anyone around the world, anyone in the UK, and you know, whether you're a fan of Apple products or not, you know, once you go in there, the consistency of the experience, the feel of it, the offer of their products and services, and the kind of just general vibe, I guess, that you get when you go in there is undeniable. But crucially, going back to our other points here, it's that the physical experience that you're having, and that then, though, I think is then captured and continued when you get home with that iPhone. Perhaps you just bought the new 5S or a new MacBook or whatever it may be. There are other phones and laptops out there, I should point out, other providers. But the experience of unwrapping that, the sheer joy of getting out of its box and seeing it in the simple packaging, and you know, maybe I'm a bit of a geek, but there's a consistency there. You know, the brand value of the product is evident, and that experience is consistent throughout digital, social, mobile, and physical. So I think, to answer your question, it's contextual. It's about placing bricks and mortar amongst the entire omni-channel brand experience. And I think if you do that, then it's absolutely one of the most critical challenges you can still have.
So therefore, omni-channel extends not just to the points of communication between the brand and the customer, but is all those touch points which are, you know, sort of non-physical communication, as it were. So the look and feel of the packaging, the bag it comes in, the, you know, whatever the communication, be it on the website or be in the TV adverts, all of this comes together as one big, consistent, seamless look and feel stroke customer experience. Is that right? The whole.
Absolutely. I mean, the way you painted there is, you know, is the omni-channel heaven that, you know, we're all moving towards. So absolutely. But you know, I think to kind of build on that, and when our clients and people that I've worked with sort of say, right, well, you know, how can I start thinking that way? You know, how can we adopt this approach and this strategy? And often the first thing I'll say is just think about yourself. You know, just think about you as a person and a consumer, and what good looks like for you, and what you like to experience. And often that's an absolutely critical starting point in this journey, because you know, we get upset with poor customer service. You know, we don't like a poor physical experience. We don't like web, a digital, social, mobile experience that grates against our expectations. So I always encourage everyone that I work with to really think about what's good for you, and you know, inevitably we're all pretty consistent on what we like. We might have particular quirks and things we do and don't like, but generally speaking, exactly what you said, really, consistency, you know, and making sure that we're filling our expectations are being met. That's really what this is all about.
Fantastic. Gaurav, we're going to leave it there for the moment, but we'll be joining you later for our Q&A session. But thank you very much for the moment. That's again great insight, and we're going to now continue with the second part of Brad Bennett's innovation bubble. So I'm going to unmute Brad, and welcome back, Brad.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to change over the slide deck for your second slides, and then give you control over WebEx. If you can click with your mouse pointer in a moment. There we go. If you can click with the mouse pointer on the screen, and away you go.
Excellent. So the second part of my presentation is more around mobile strategy and mobile applications, and how that supports customer experience in the omni-channel world. So just to reiterate and bring back, this mobile phenomenon is a sort of a watershed moment. It's something that, you know, has happened to us, as you saw, between 2005 and 2013. So between 7 or 8 years, if you haven't changed your thinking, your strategies, you need to start thinking about it now. And a lot of that is around this mobile space. So if you think about this mobile space, you know, how many times do you use your smartphone a day? I know I'm probably a little bit like some of the other speakers here. I'm a bit of a geek, so I'm always on my smartphone. But you know, how many times are you using it today? You know, how many applications are you using? Which is your favorite app, and why? You know, what is it? The usability? Is it the information you're getting? And then, which is your least favorite app that you're using in the mobile on your smartphone? And then, if from the company's point of view, you know, what sort of customer service business problem are you trying to solve if you have a mobile application? If you don't have one, then you might want to start thinking about it. As I said before, there's all these different applications on the mobile device, right? Regardless of the type of handset that it is. You know, so you have all these different experiences that are delivered by this mobile device, and some companies, and quite rightly, are thinking about creating their own application to deliver information to the customer, and that way they control that experience with their customer. That they're not using you know, a third-party application such as Twitter or Facebook, but they're delivering their application, say it's a bank, for example. So the bank creates their own application, and they can control that user experience within that application. And some of the trends today, and this is some recent surveys that come out of Accenture and also Forrester, is that, you know, smartphone, tablets, everything mobile is a big trend for this year and going forward. And then when from Accenture, when they talk to CIOs worldwide about mobility as a primary channel of, you know, customer engagement, there's some pretty big figures here. So, you know, 79% of them said that, you know, mobility would provide a new and significant source of revenue for their companies, and that 84% said that it would significantly improve customer interactions. And 83% of them said that, you know, mobility would impact their business overall. So this is something really big, and this is something that we need to get a handle on. But then when we have a look at, you know, mobile applications and from a customer service experience point of view, so call center times did this recent study. So, you know, 48% of people use, you know, mobile apps more than 10 times a day. I know I'm probably way up in the like 95th percentile in there. And 78% of us use mobile apps for, you know, customer service purposes. So that could be, for example, you know, buying a new item. It could be checking my account statement. It could be trying to, you know, have an interactive chat with my retail store that I'm just, you know, wanting to know, do you have this item in stock, and can I come down and get it, or can I get it from your website, that type of thing. And the reasons why people don't use mobile apps for customer service is some things around security. So we still have some reticence in terms of, is this a secure channel for me? Can be other channel preferences. So, at this point in time, it might not be best for me to have this interaction via a mobile channel. I might want to send an email. Maybe it's, I'm late at night sitting in bed on the iPad, so I'll send an email rather than using the mobile app. And then, another small percentage of people frankly just haven't downloaded the app. From a internal point of view, from a customer experience point of view, our design, typically in a lot of our organizations, is modeled around old thinking. So we're traditionally thinking about our customer has this fixed phone, they have this fixed line internet, and it's all about, voice in, voice out via the telephone, maybe web, chat, email via the PC. There's very limited personalization. We think that our people are fixed, they're not moving. From a design point of view, they're not, on the move. They're not, for example, in a plane flying above our heads. They're not in the airport. They're probably, either at work or at home on their device. And then those interactions, as previous speakers talked about, we tend to move that around, when people are going to be at home or at work in terms of their schedule. And then we talk about, automated and directed self-service. So it's very sort of targeted at this old view and that view from 2005 and not the view of 2013. So what we need to think about is, there's all these mobile interactions, and they can be multi-channel or omni-channel. They can be voice, video, email, chat, all in one device. We can make it personal, so we can have that context. We know who they are. We know where they are because we can get their location typically from their mobile device. And we can do some smart things as well in terms of, informing a customer by push notifications, like saying, well, we don't have that item in stock at the moment, but we'll send you a notification via the mobile application as soon as we've got this item in stock, and then the customer can hang up. We have, some customers using some of our technology to say, look, I wanted to speak to someone in customer service. And then the technology can come back and say, well, there's no one available at the moment, but would you like us to inform you when there's an agent available to take your call? And then the customer can close their mobile app even and continue with their day. And then they get a push notification to say, hey, there's an agent available now, would you like to speak to them? And they can click on that notification and it can get connected to the agent. So it really sort of moves that whole customer experience to another level. And even though we're, focusing on this old view of what our customers are doing, 60 to 90%, depending on where you are in the world and also what type of industry you are, 60 to 90% of incoming interactions come from a mobile device. So why aren't we, designing the customer experience, assuming, a mobile capabilities as a baseline? And that's the sort of question that we ask our customers going forward. So do you have a mobile customer service application, or do you have a mobile application? And is it connected into your customer experience or customer service area within your organization? And we did the study recently in the UK, and we found that, just under 20% of people said, yep, we've got a mobile-ready contact center and we're all linked up to our mobile app. But disappointingly, 80% of the people in the survey said, no, we don't really have any connection between our mobile environment, our mobile app, and our customer care area. And if you flip that to the previous information in terms of, 60 to 90% of people are contacting you via this mobile device, we really need to start bridging this gap in terms of mobile experience. So from our point of view, we normally come with sort of 3 recommendations. One is to have, a connected application so that the application can intelligently connect between the application and the customer service within your organization and create that seamless sort of business conversation. An example of that, for example, would be maybe you're on your, I'll just give a banking example. Maybe you're on the mobile app of your bank, you're checking your statement on your mobile app, and you see, a transaction that you didn't make. So it's either fraud or it's the bank's mistake or something like that. And the ability from within the mobile app to say, look, I want to speak to someone about that, and you're connected directly to the right person in the organization, and they know which transaction you're talking about, who you are. You don't need to go through all sort of identification and verification, and they know you're talking about that specific transaction. And that's a seamless sort of customer experience from my point of view. And that flows on into that second point is creating a personalized customer experience from within the mobile environment, so that you're delivering that interaction when they need help, or they want they want to buy something and they want to speak to someone, and within your organization, delivering it to the right person at the right time, and that will improve your customer experience. And then engaging your agents effectively out of the mobile app. So they have the ability, you see the little icon in the bottom right hand of the slide there, being able to say, for example, we have some customers, just as an example, saying, look, for all my gold customers, I want to, within the mobile app, I want to show them all the channels that we have so that they can say, yep, I want to chat with an agent. Yes, I would like to send an email. Yes, I would like to, call directly to an agent now. But then we have some customers that are saying, but if this is a different tiered type customer, or they don't do as much business with us, we'll only show, for example, the chat option within the mobile app and move them to a lower cost channel within our organization. And we can change those options also based upon what's happening in the customer service area. So, for example, if all your agents are busy, if they're all taking calls, and even if this gold customer was to call through now, they would wait for 10 minutes, and that would ruin their whole customer experience. We might even show on the mobile app, look, all our agents are busy, would you like us to call you back? And that's where you get into that, the pop-up notification and the push notification that I was talking about before. So they're the three sort of areas that we suggest to companies to start thinking about when they're thinking about their mobile application and how to link that into the whole omni-channel customer experience. So just to summarize it in one slide. So, these mobile devices are redefining customer experience. You need to start thinking about that now. And if you have a mobile application, how do you link that mobile application? Is it just a dead application where people are just getting information in the mobile space? Again, just like a silo, and can't move to other channels within your organization seamlessly, keeping the context from that mobile app into the rest of the customer experience. It's not just mobile just isn't just another chapter in terms of smaller, faster, cheaper sort of story. It's something that really has exploded, and you need to start thinking about now. And customers are expecting customer service within the app. They're not just expecting, for example, to browse and see prices of your items within your application. If you don't have the ability for them to come seamlessly out of your application and come into your organization, then you're probably missing some sales. I've seen some mobile applications actually where they do have a contact us button, for example. So you press contact us, and it calls the call center, and the call center says, hi, who are you? So you're not even identified. They don't know where you are. They don't know what you were doing in the mobile app, and you have to re-explain where you are in your conversation. And that really creates a sort of disjointed customer experience, and it also raises the effort for the customer. And as we know, if the effort's too high, they're probably going to go elsewhere. So, design your contact center assuming that customer is on the mobile device. Can be a bit of a controversial term, but I think from my point of view, you start thinking about it. Take advantage of mobile capabilities such as voice, video, email, chat, location as well. Keep your customer proactively informed using push notifications out to the mobile application, and then look for a solution that can help you enable all of these things in what we call mobile engagement. So I think that, John, is my last bubble, and thank you very much.
Great stuff, Brad. Thanks very much indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be flashing up some ways that you can make contact with Genesis and find out more about their omni-channel facilitating suite of technology solutions. Thanks very much, Brad. You'll be joining us as well for the Q&A at the end of today's formal presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got any questions for Brad or for our first two interviewees today, Simon Liss and Garrett Evans, if you'd like to click on the question mark icon and put your questions to our panel, they will be forming at the end of the formal part of the agenda. So, but moving swiftly on, so I shall take control back off you, Brad, and mute you, and I'd like to introduce you to, ladies and gentlemen, to our final interviewee of today, David Williams. So I shall unmute you, David, and welcome you. Thank you very much for patiently standing by. Hope you're well and hope you can hear me okay.
I can hear you just fine, John, and yeah, some fascinating insights already from a number of the other speakers. I have to say, I particularly love the PayPal moment.
Yes, I think that's particularly effective.
The changes for Omni-channel, actually. So great job, Brad. Thank you.
Good stuff. And so David Williams, you're a partner at How to Experience, and on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, you have a bit of a biography, and there's a picture of what David looks like. But David, if you could sum up just in a couple of sentences, sort of what you do and your particular take on the whole omni-channel topic.
Yeah, I guess I've been working with big blue chips for the last 15 years in the customer space more generally, and I guess working through what people have called multi-channel and the additions of new channels, and I guess I see Omni-channel just as an extension of that continual journey to trying to deal with customers in the way that they want. And from an organizational point of view, normally when you do that, that's actually more efficient than some of the inefficiencies that come from the siloed approach that some of the other speakers have talked about. So I guess that's my background, and I've been doing this for a while, and probably if I think about Omni-channel, I kind of think back probably 10 years ago to a couple of client projects. I was fortunate enough to lead the project at American Express across all their international markets for customer experience. And one of the things that we came up with the team there was kind of really looking at the first 100 days engagement with their clients, trying to get people to spend more quickly, more frequently on their card products. And funnily enough, you know, probably what everyone on this call knows is kind of the more relevant that you are to customers in the conversations you're having with them, actually the more satisfied they're likely to be, and frankly the more they're likely to buy from you. And that truism was something that we tried to pilot over kind of 7 international markets. Anyway, 3 years later, you know, they won CRM Strategy of the Year because revenue was uplifted 19%, et cetera, but, you know, we kind of had to bend the credit systems to get that done. So, and I don't think, you know, kind of what we did at American Express 10 years ago probably is too much different to what people are trying to do these days as well, in terms of they may be trying to add on newer channels like mobile and integrate them with web and customer service, as well as, frankly, I think many people are still trying to integrate some of those basic channels like phone and web chat and SMS and email, and get that in the seamless way that Brad was talking to us about.
In terms of, you know, from an observer's perspective, which I very much am, you know, I'm not involved in consultancy purely from a sort of a market research analyst perspective. I see there seems to be two big elements to the omni-channel implementation, as it were. One seems to be infrastructure led, so you can't actually do it unless you've got the right boxes of tricks in place to actually do the communication piece and to take that context and that personalization across one individual customer's journey, you know, across, you know, the entire sort of customer life cycle. And then the other part seems to be cultural and getting all of the traditionally siloed or usually siloed functions to all sing off the same hymn sheet, and to have similar customer related metrics in terms of their measurements of performance, etc. So as a consultant, where do you actually start with organisations? What's the what's the common starting point in terms of that journey?
Well, I think always in any change program, there's kind of two things that you need to work through. The first thing is you've got to look at where your biggest customer pain points are. And the unfortunate thing for most organisations is that it's your best customers that are in that 3 to 5 times different channels, i.e. the ones that use you most are the ones that feel the pain of the disconnected channels more than your lower value customers. So pretty much I've seen that on every single customer base I've looked at. So the first thing is where is the pain point? What are the things that customers are really screaming about? But to do that from an organisational point of view, organisations are in business to make money. I mean, obviously some rare ones that are truly altruistic, but most people on this call will be either in a making money business, or if you're in the government sector, a spending money effectively business. And that then leads to actually what are the business priorities, because there will be some organisational objectives. And I think if you marry those two things up and trying to solve those two problems together, you've got a much better chance of aligning the organisation around priorities that will come from the top, from the shareholders or the key stakeholders, as well as those that we're trying to serve, those that believe in a more customer-focused, customer-centric world. And if you get those two things right, I think that will certainly, you can galvanise people around the priorities. In terms of how to get it done, I think most people end up in a kind of a chicken and egg situation, which is, the expenditure for the types of systems that can do seamless omni-channel are not normally carry quite a large price tag for organisations. And if the IT department is already busy doing a whole pile of fix-it stuff and integration stuff and all those other things that they will be busy doing, you're unlikely to be on their roadmap. And so it's really difficult to get their attention. So you tend to get into this kind of chicken and egg situation, which is what came first. The IT infrastructure required to deliver omni-channel, or actually the proof that omni-channel really will deliver significant benefits so we can afford to spend the money. So one of the things that we tried to do, and we did it with American Express and many other clients, is we're trying to incubate some of these new ideas. So kind of try and take them offline and outside of the core business, which is busy doing its daily business, and actually really try and go, well, actually, let's try and get a bit of SMS combined with email, combined with a mobile app, and build some very light but quick implementations where you can try it, prove the benefits, and then actually, having proven the benefits, then look to scale through your operation. Because my observation is people are always too busy doing what they've currently got to do, i.e. with targets, to start to try some different things. And actually, many experienced operators who may be on the call today will also know that almost the last thing that you want to do if you've got a large organisation with thousands of people in it is to get them all trying lots of different things and take their eye off the core task that they need to do. So actually incubating, and so for American Express, we did try lots of different treatments across 7 different markets, having bent the credit systems to do this kind of real-time event-based multi-channel treatment strategy, which we all knew would work, but of course we didn't know exactly which bits would give us most benefit. And having done that, actually, we then obviously proved which worked best, classic test and learn, and moved it on. So I think incubation, just trying to get on with it, but in a small and contained way, can really help people, one, prove the benefits, and of course, as soon as people see the benefits, then they'll be rushing to try and push and scale it, having got the real evidence and proof. So that's one tactic that can help you move on.
And I'm assuming that there isn't a one-size-fits-all. That depending on your business vertical, depending on the number of ways that your customers wish to communicate with you or be communicated to by you, that will impact on exactly the solution or the strategy that you take forward. So it is very much. I assume there is a stage which is going through the analysis process and saying, well, how applicable is the concept of omnichannel to this business in this vertical with these types of customers? Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, I think every business is different and will have different priorities, but I think there's certainly some uniformed approaches that we use. So I think there's kind of two frames I normally put on it. So the first is, if you look at your core customer interactions, if you think about this from a servicing lens and look at those key interactions, you can normally look at those and say, you know, actually, what are people trying to do with some of these key interactions? Actually, where are we inefficient? And you can normally, well, we model that against a business case and actually put some hard numbers against what the opportunities are against each of those key interactions, with some key strategies about what you could do, either channel shifting or combining or frankly just automating. So you can do some interesting modeling on that, and so that's one lens I would encourage everyone to look at. The second, I think, is looking at your customer life cycle in terms of, you know, we heard a little bit early on, I think, about, you know, as you're going through that buying and purchase process, the use of channels. So that's always an area. I mean, I think in the B2B environment, you'll find that people are 70% of their way through their purchasing process by the time they issue you with an RFP. So if you haven't been involved in the early stages there through the other channels which potentially aren't as visible to you, then you're behind the curve to start with. So I normally say the purchase process. So a good example I would give you there was, you know, perhaps a mobile telecoms provider we did some work with them on their retail channel, and which they saw completely differently to the web channel, et cetera, et cetera. And yet, when you look at the research stats, people go in and out of at least 4 different stores and various other online portals and forums to look at the type of phone they want and the type of provider. So it would kind of make sense. If you were in an online retailing world, you would definitely have a way to capture their details, to follow up with them and try and convert them over a period of time, using multiple channels, whether it's phone, email, or chat mechanisms. So you know, kind of, if you apply that to a retail environment, you know, what is stopping you in the mobile store from capturing their details as they're just browsing, saying we'll stay in touch with you with latest offers, and then following up? That kind of thing is really easy, which can be done with SMS, follow up to say, hey, we've got a great offer for you, or have you thought about it? Do you want to give us a call? And linking that call back into your sales center. You can get about a 30-to-1 ROI on that kind of activity. Yeah. So, you know, so it can be substantial. So different parts of the life cycle, I think, you know, if you look at them carefully, you go, there's a real opportunity here, there's a real opportunity there. Perhaps another example would be, I think, most contact operations, to take the other area that Brad was talking about, you know, where there's an awful lot of cost, are pretty reactive in the service they deliver. So another client that's actually up for a multi-channel award that we work with this week in the CE Awards is Arrow XL. It's a 2-man delivery business. You probably don't know its name, but it's the biggest in the UK as a multi-brand provider. So if you order the sofa on Amazon, it's probably delivered by them. And they've embarked on this journey of trying to take cost out by eliminating some of the reactive service and reinvesting it in proactive service. So they're anticipating when people are there, they're trying to combine channels to get people to understand when they're coming, so they're in at home when they deliver the sofa, which obviously costs them an awful lot of money if you're not, and all that kind of stuff. And they're actually reducing their calls per delivery by a factor of 4 through their kind of integrated omni-channel program. And, you know, so there are some very, very big rewards if you work out for your business what those kind of key interactions are, and then start to move into proactive service as opposed to just being reactive and waiting for people to contact you. So I hope that's a couple of tips anyway.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting, David. I think again, as I've picked up as an observer from the previous speakers, then it's omni-channel is not just the immediate channels that you would think about in terms of communication with the customer, but encompasses a much wider scope, and definitely sort of proactive service or such like is another area which can be pulled in and can, you know, have an impact on that whole personalization, but also drive efficiencies within the organization. So that's really interesting. What I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is just open up the phone lines to our other panelists and pick out now a few questions from the audience. So thank you very much, David, for your for your participation, and you're definitely still with us with regards to this Q&A session. And I think Brad, I'll sort of throw one. I'll throw one out to you first, which is with regard to. It seems to me, and one of the questions from the audience echoed this, that the whole area of omnichannel relies on identifying the customer when they are on various points in their journey and they're communicating via those various channels. Is that a technological issue? And sort of, will there always be blind spots where organisations can't identify the customer, when they come through those different sort of channel front doors?
Yeah, there will be blind spots, but if you're going to give this sort of true omni-channel experience, then you need to keep context from one place to another. And to keep that context, you need to do it in some way. So you need to identify that this is the same person going from one channel to another, or is contacting us last week via this channel and next week this one. I saw there was a question about social media and how do you deal with the lack of identification of customers in social media. So we typically suggest to our customers to do this. The first thing is that when a social media interaction comes in, then you should have the ability to move that to any other sort of channel dynamically. So a lot of our customers are saying, okay, here's the first, for example, Facebook message or Twitter message from, typically I find a lot of us don't even have our real names in social media. So, your name could be Jon Snow in real life, and you could be Big Bird on, Twitter, for example. So, so here's Big Bird contacting us. What do we do with it? And asking some questions and acting as if, that Big Bird is Jon Snow. So what we would typically do is say, look, from that agent's point of view, that agent can send, and we have a lot of customers doing this, send a private message, say, via Twitter or Facebook, and say, here's a one-time link, click on it, and it'll open a real-time chat. And that real-time chat will try and route back to the exact same agent. So that agent is saying, okay, look, let's take it to another channel. Let's change channel seamlessly, and then it's a channel where we're secure and I can ID and V you, and then from then on I can put your details within our CRM, so we know when Big Bird contacts us that it's Jon Snow. And two other things that we typically say to customers is think about your onboarding. So when customers come on, if you want to get into this and you think that it's important, this social media customer service space, then you should include that as part of your onboarding. And the second thing is we have a lot of our customers sort of do it in a promotional point of view to say, hey, if you come to our web portal, enter your social details, then we'll give you some extra points or some frequent flyer miles or whatever.
Simon, when customers come to our organisation through a particular channel, should we be completing the conversation via that same channel, or are there any emerging best practices that you're aware of with regard to, whether you should try and shift the customer onto a particular channel to, either close a sale or close a service issue, or etc.? What's your view on that?
Well, look, there is no rule that's going to apply across businesses. Some businesses will work in better channels. You're unlikely to close the sale of a motor vehicle via a phone call. When we look at clients' customer journeys here, they're increasingly fragmented. People are going to dip in and out of channels. And we've seen, presentations today that have shown the relative importance of certain channels across the customer journey, at certain mindsets for certain shopping missions. So probably the best advice I can give a company looking at wanting to flex their channels and looking to see what the most important channel is actually go and see what your customers are using right now. One of the kind of golden rules I used to put out there for mobile and any kind of digital innovation, and this could be applied to new channels or investing in your channels, is don't make customers kind of climb a mountain to get to you. Go where they already are. So respond to their existing channel use, and whether that be by just observing how they're trying to interact with you, observing what devices they're using, observing when they're trying to do it, how they're trying to do it, or even going as far as to survey them to say, how would you like to communicate with us? Because I go back to my earlier point, it has to be customer led. So use the channels you've got, but to try and see which channels your customers want to use, because we don't want to kind of drag people to where we want to be. We want to go where they are already existing.
That's interesting. Garan, on a sort of similar note, in terms of which channels organisations should prioritise, and of course that's probably a really bad, evil word in the omni-channel world, is because you should equally prioritise everything, blah 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 blah. But from a if you've got a CFO listening who's going, well, to resource and provide the infrastructure for every single possible channel that the customer may wish to use is very expensive. How do you balance the books between the expectation of the customer and the actual cost of the business?
Yeah, that is a really interesting challenge, really, particularly as everything changes on a daily basis at the moment. The days of kind of thinking 3, 5, 10 years ahead are really fascinatingly changing. Especially in omni-channel, it's what's going to happen tomorrow, really, I think. But to answer your question, I think while there are futuristic things emerging, the basics now are becoming quite settled. I think that the focus really should be on making sure that you have in your basic channel mix all of the kind of ones that a customer would expect to see now, and I use expect in as much as not be disappointed if they aren't there. So a great example of this is responsive design on your main website. Have you personally, as the CFO or whoever it is on the management team, actually interacted with your main site and checked how it is on different devices? That's really important. If you haven't got that covered, consider it. You've obviously heard some fantastic reasons from Brad and everyone else around mobile apps and use of mobile handset applications. Again, if you don't have it, ask yourself why. Is it a gap in your customer journey and your customer expectation? And if it is, then certainly begin the journey to achieving that. But I think to answer your question in a roundabout way, really, you need to look at your overall mix. You need to sort of see where your opportunities are just to do something. But as I cautioned against in my sort of time with you and as everyone else has said, really, make sure you're doing it because it's your strategy to do it. Try not to be too reactionary, too tactical. Just sort of running after the latest social media network because you think you should. You should always kind of write that back against what your overall strategy for customer contact is. And your customers will probably forgive you for not being on the latest hot social media platform coming out of Brazil, but they probably won't forgive you for not having a customer service agent that does or doesn't know that who you are, really. So yeah, I think it's sort of stay just behind the wave. If you imagine a surfing analogy, you're kind of paddling in, you sort of want to be with the wave, I guess.
David, I'm assuming HR play a very important role in the delivery of omnichannel in terms of resourcing and training, so that the staff who interact with customers, across this omnichannel journey, can actually deliver that experience and that sort of that same branded feel at each point of interaction. Is human resource a challenging issue in terms of implementing omnichannel generally?
Yeah, I think it is, because it's a change in mindset, as we've already heard today. But at a kind of at an agent level, so kind of down here in our innovation centre where we do multi-channel, we really look at people's skill sets very differently. And when we work with our clients and start to get into more of the social channels, one of the things that we say to our clients and also try and get into our people is this view that you can give us a policy manual that's, a big couple of A4 binders that you want everyone to kind of read. But in reality, as you get into these more open channels where what I say can be screen grabbed and broadcast and forwarded on to 1 million people, you really need to move away from a kind of a rules and regulations, because effectively your clients will publish your policies. So the first thing is make sure your overall policies are customer friendly and that there aren't any out there that they'll grab and publish for you as a senior executive. The second, though, is then what we've got to get from a frontline agent point of view is effectively to understand and make the right decisions that you or I or a senior member of your team would make at that moment in time. And that comes down to actually really understanding the values and behaviours of an organisation and giving the agents a decision-making framework so that they can use that to guide their decision. So it's actually about a much more empowered agent, but if you've imbued those values and behaviours that are vital to your organisation and instructed them to follow those, then they're highly likely, rather than reading subsection B, paragraph 2, in a slightly different way, they'll intuitively make the right decision for you. So I think there are some massive HR challenges, yeah.
Brad, a point on sort of building a business case for procuring some of the key infrastructure components to make all this happen. What is the common sort of ROI thinking with regards to the whole area of omni-channel? Is it looking at the impact on retaining customers, on advocacy, on on positive customer experience leading to sort of customer growth? What are the common things that you guys are shouting about with regards to some of these product areas?
Thanks for the $200 million question, John. Look, there's certainly, we talk to our customers a lot around the link between NPS, so Net Promoter Score. What are people talking to? How are they promoting you? Are they happy with you, etc. The link between NPS and bottom line profit. So we talk a lot about that. We also talk to our customers a lot about customer effort, and in fact, some of our customers have taken it as far as to say, I want to track in real time my customer effort across the entire conversation. And when it gets to a point where the customer is, where there's too much effort over this sort of combined conversation that they've had with us, then we'll change dynamically our SLAs and make sure that we reach out to that customer before they perhaps leave. So there's a lot of things that we have, and in fact, there's I couldn't go through it in probably under sort of a couple of days, but that we have a sort of business consulting side of our organisation, and they'll typically help our customers to build those business cases, and really start as one of the speakers was talking about before, in terms of let's start with some bite-sized implementations that really have some really fantastic ROI, and build out from there, so that you're sort of get the confidence of maybe your board or senior management in terms of the smaller business case, and then build it out from there in terms of larger across the enterprise sort of implementation.
Simon, is NPS and customer effort score and such metrics, do you see those as the metrics of performance in terms of omnichannel, or should we be looking in other areas for for indicators of the outcome of an omnichannel initiative?
Well, I'm sitting in a design agency effectively. The bulk of the people here are designers, and they look at it from a much more aesthetic point of view.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, KPIs and measurement are absolutely critical, especially if you're going to ask for big money from the board and then justify it. I guess from a more kind of brand-focused point of view, omnichannel is also about consistency of design and consistency of experience, and not just experience from a kind of, we recognise you customer XXY, but also from a kind of a language point of view, and getting that feel from that brand, whatever whatever channel you come into contact with. Now, a lot of people think that design on web and design is just a lick of paint on top of a really clever database. And for us, we would disagree with that. We think that the way people interact with organizations and brands is not just about algorithms and data. It's also about what it looks like, what it says to you, and what it feels like. So I wouldn't underestimate the importance of design overlaid over a really solid, if you like, measurement structure.
So at the end of the day, if you were that hard-nosed CFO who's trying to perhaps draw in the reins on an ambitious CEO who wants to change everything and blah blah blah, can one actually make that direct link between omni-channel initiatives, be it across the communication piece and the brand piece, etc.? Can you actually make that physical linkage at the moment between that and the profit line and the bottom line, or is it is it still something that, well, we should be doing it and we've got a gut feel that it is an important thing?
I think that we need to apply a bit of common sense. We need to look at we need to put ourselves in the customer's shoes and walk ourselves through, and whether that's using tools or through mystery shopping, or walk ourselves through that experience and look and see where the problems are. Part of omni-channel is actually making things that are already working work even better. Mm-hmm. So. And we live in a world of scarcity. We don't have money to do everything. We're often not building companies from a blank piece of paper. So we have to work with what we've got with limited funds. And I guess my advice is you look at this. There's often some easy wins. And we talk about mobilizing websites, and it's kind of a basic nowadays. Companies are often scared to mobilize websites because it requires a whole kind of root and branch redevelopment of their platform. My advice, and certainly when I was running a mobile agency, was to say to people, well, look at the pages that are most visited by mobile devices and change them first. And so moving from kind of single channel to multi-channel to omni-channel is a progressive act, and it's an act of making small changes which have an appreciable effect on customer experience.
On that point, Simon, I think we're going to close our webinar for today. So thank you to our entire team today. Let me just run you through them. We had our interview pioneers, and we've called our champions today. So thank you very much to Simon Liss and to Garrett Evans and to David Williams. Thank you very much to our innovator for today, Brad Bennett from Genesis. So thank you all. Our web sponsor today was Genesis. You can find out more about the products and the solutions that Brad was talking about by going to the Genesis website, which is genesislab.com. And also in the follow-up email, if you are listening to us live, we will be sending you out some more contact information for our panelists and, of course, for Brad at Genesis. Again, I re-emphasize that I encourage you to follow our Twitter at DCGBNI, and if you want to look at future events, be they face-to-face, real-world events, or be they future webinars, go to our website, which is dcgbni.co.uk. So I've thanked our speakers, I've thanked our sponsors, and finally, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending your time today. It's been great to have your company for this Champions and Innovators webcast. I'm John Snow, and I hope to have your company again sometime in the near future when we'll be running yet another of these webinars. But for now, have a very good rest of the afternoon. Thank you.